morning, everyone, and Merry Christmas. My name is Kelly Anderson, alcoholic. Hey, Kelly. My sobriety date is December 12th of 2012. And for that, I am forever grateful. My home group is A Vision for You in Nashville, North Carolina. We are primarily a big book study group. We meet on Tuesday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. If you're ever in the area, come see us. I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. Okay, I'll settle in here in a minute, and God will start working. It's my job tonight to tell you in a general way what I was like, what happened to me, and what I'm like today. And what I can tell you is Alcoholics Anonymous has helped me find a relationship with a God of my understanding. And I think the best part of this entire program is that it doesn't have to be your God or your God. It can be my God and how I understand that to be. I'll be forever grateful to all of you guys for helping me find that relationship and helping me stay sober because without it, I don't know that I could do it on my own. I tried for a long time to stay sober on my own, and I tried everything. This was like a last resort for me. I did not want to be an alcoholic. I did not, at 8 years old, decide I wanted to be an alcoholic. That is when I first took my first drink. I started very young. Grew up in a lot of chaos and partying, and it was normal. So at 10 years old, I took a drink wanting to feel the way the people around me were feeling, what I saw around me, and that happy-go-lucky, free kind of, because I did not feel that way. Even at 9 years old, I did not feel normal. I felt like there was something wrong with me, that I was damaged. And that, there would always be something wrong with me. I was not good enough, I was not smart enough, I was not pretty enough. All the things that I saw everybody else around me being, I could not be that in my head. I could not be that. I have since figured out that I can talk myself into just about anything and convince myself that it's true. Through Alcoholics Anonymous, I have a sponsor, and I'm current with that sponsor, and I sponsor other women, and my sponsor helps me to stay true to myself and true to the people around me, and I'm so grateful for her. I am really emotional and really crazy right now. It's been a while since I've done this, and I'll settle in a minute. So I grew up in the mountains of Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, and there was nothing to do but sit in the woods and drink, and so that's what I did. I spent a lot of time in the woods. Most people are afraid of the woods, where they're uncomfortable. That was my safe place. That's where I went to feel safe. And so I spent a lot of time in the woods, in trees, and in the dirt. That's where I was at home. It's still where I'm at home. My husband and I will go to the mountains now, and he'll be like, "You're gonna get hurt." I'm like, "Leave me alone. I'm good. Just let me get in the dirt. I'm happy." I think I've heard almost everybody that gets up behind the podium say that for some reason or another they didn't feel comfortable in their own skin, didn't feel like a part of anything, and I too felt that way. We were not rich growing up. I ate a lot of government cheese. I'm just going to tell you, that stuff does not melt easy. Carol disagrees, but it does not melt easy, especially when you put it in cold macaroni. Could not tell my mother that, though. We grew up pretty poor, and so there was a lot of bullying and a lot of making fun of through my childhood. By the time I was in high school, I was already a full-blown alcoholic and was full of anger and resentment and just venom. And I drank to keep all that in check, so I didn't scare everybody around me, just most people. So in 1987, we moved to North Carolina halfway through my junior year in high school. That is not a time that you want to move your teenager, just so you know. It's a very, especially an alcoholic teenager who had grown up in the same area and knew where to get all the things I needed and all the things I had to have to get through the day, and you yank me out of there and put me in the middle of Wilson, North Carolina. There are no mountains, like everything is flat. We're driving down, like there is, like I can see for miles. I'm uncomfortable. So, halfway through my junior year, and so I was even more uncomfortable. And so my drinking increased. And out of respect for Alcoholics Anonymous, there is a lot of drugs in my history, but I do not talk about those because otherwise Steve will make fun of me from the podium like he does Amy. I'm not going to do that. So, out of respect for Alcoholics Anonymous, I'll stick to the alcoholism in my life, which is where I end up every time anyway. It's just a gateway for me. So 1987, I'm in the middle of a high school that I'm unfamiliar with. I don't know anybody. I don't know anything. I don't know where to get anything. I'm full of anger. And so I take hostages when I'm in that situation. So I started dating people who were much like me, drank like I did the same things I did. And so I found my niche down here too. Fast forward several years, I am a fixer and a control freak. I like to fix things for everybody else, and I like to control how I fix those things and how you react to that. So, as long as you're going along with the plan, everything is fine. It's when you don't that I become resentful and even more angry. And so, suffice it to say that, I'm full of rage and very angry and trying to cover all that up with being nice to everybody, right? And trying to fit in, trying to be the chameleon, and just wherever I go, that's what I am. And didn't know who I was. Didn't know who I wanted to be when I grew up. Didn't know I was an alcoholic. I mean, knew that I drank a lot, knew that I did things that I shouldn't be doing, but it was the only coping mechanism I knew. I started at such a young age that it's the only way I knew how to deal with people, how to deal with emotions, any kind of emotion, happy, sad, upset, anything. I drank over it. That's just what I did. So I met my husband in 1994. He is in law enforcement. So I had to kind of temper all the other things, and so he did not know what he had signed up for. It's like, surprise, here I am. But it didn't get really bad for a while. We had some good times. We drank together. We drank socially, kind of, sort of. Yeah, but it got to the point where I could tell what kind of night the night before. I was a horrible blackout drinker, so I could tell what kind of night we'd had the night before by the look on his face when I woke up in the morning and whether he was stomping through the house. Because when he gets upset, he stomps through the house. And so, I would wake up the next morning and be trying to, piece things together. And if he was in a good mood, I'd know that the night before was okay. And if he was not, I had some sucking up to do. So that went on for a while. He had, I jumped into a ready-made family. I knew from a very young age that I would not be able to have children. And so, my goal was to be the best stepmom and wife ever, and everybody would love me, right? Because that's what I want. I wanted people to love me. And so I would do things to make people love me. But I had ulterior motives. Like if I did something for you, I expected that. Thank you. You're so wonderful. Thank you so much. And I didn't get that, especially from my family. And so my family is like the people that can push my buttons the fastest. And it's the hardest place to apply the spiritual principles of this program is with my family and at home and at work. I will add that. So he had 2 children from a previous marriage, and I had the best example of a step-parent ever. My daddy and my mom met when I was 4. They got married when I was 6. And he was just the best. He was the most kind, loving man ever. He's the one who taught me how to hug somebody and tell them I love them. He's the one who told me how to show love and be a decent human being. And so I wanted to be that kind of step-parent. And they were 9 and 12 girls when he and I met. And Lee and I were talking earlier about how girls are more difficult than boys are. And they didn't love me. They were like, we don't love you. And so that destroyed me. And my drinking increased like a lot. And we were arguing all the time. And I was just full of this ick, all that nasty built up anger and rage that I had. And so that came out to the most available person in my life, and that was him. So he put up with a lot of crap from me. Suffice it to say that in 2004, when I got sober the first time, he was very grateful for that. My daughter, Rainey, was born in 2000. There's a whole story behind that. We don't have time for all that. But anyway, she came into my life, into our lives, and we raised her as our own from about 2-3 months old. And she was my eyeball. She was my gift from God. And I couldn't control my drinking anymore. It had gotten to the point where I was drinking myself into a blackout every night, passing out. And I used her as an excuse to not get any help because I wasn't leaving my child. I wasn't going to abandon my child and go to rehab. I was better than that. I could do it on my own. And so I tried to stop drinking. I tried all the controlled drinking that we do. I switched from beer to wine. I switched from liquor to just beer. I switched from this to that. I started doing, like Dr. Bob did, taking sedatives in the morning and drinking, all the things to try and cope, try and get through the day. And it just wasn't working. And so my little girl was about 2 years old when she found me passed out on the bathroom floor, sick. And every time prior to that, he had tried to keep her away from me when I was like that. And this particular night, he had just had enough of my crap. And he was like, yeah, just go on in there, go see her. And I looked up from the bathroom floor, and she was standing there looking at me crying. And was like, what's wrong, Mommy? Are you okay? And I saw myself at her age, looking at my mom, and that was my first spiritual awakening. My first one was when I drank the first time. My second one was when my child found me on the floor. And so I got up off of that floor, and he and I had been back and forth about me going to rehab for months. And I finally, I said, I'm ready to go. And he like almost threw me in the car right that minute and was like, we're going, you know. But the next morning we called Wilmington Treatment Center and we went up there, and they didn't have a bed for me. And so we went to Wilmington anyway, because I figured if I didn't go then I wouldn't go, because I knew me. And I knew that if I had time to think about it, I would not go. I would find another reason. And so we went to Wilmington, and they called the next morning, and that was all God. And got me in there, and I got sober, and I came out, and I was on fire for AA, and did all the things, and was going to meetings, and got a sponsor, and you know, doing all the things, and did okay for a while. And then my daddy got sick, and I got self-centered and self-absorbed, and stopped going to AA, and stopped going to meetings, and stopped doing the things that I knew I was supposed to do. And I used my job that I was doing at the time as an excuse to not go to meetings. And my poor husband was like, oh, she's been sober a while, she knows what she's doing. I did not know what I was doing. And so, long story short, I had to do more research. I had to go out and get drunk again to find out if I was really an alcoholic. And so we went to Vegas on a business trip, and don't let anybody ever tell you that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It does not. It comes home with you. And so I came home, and you know, little airplane bottles turned into a fifth of liquor, hid under the sink at work. And that was my incentive to get up and go to work. Like, my bottles at work, I gotta go. So the morning drink was a standard for me. It was not out of the ordinary. And so I continued to drink, and I got fired from that job, first job I ever got fired from, for stealing from my employer. And it was during the Madoff times, and I was doing financial planning, and so my boss was like, yeah, we can't do this, you got to go. And so here I come with my little box of stuff, walking in the house, and my husband is like, what is going on? Because I'm a really good liar. I'm a really good liar when I'm drinking. And so I had, you know, convinced him everything was fine, until I walked in with my little box of stuff, crying hysterically. You know, I lost my job. And so he blamed himself for that, for not seeing that. He blamed himself for not knowing that I was drinking, and it was not his fault. You know, that was all me. That was all me. So October 2012, I'm fired from my job. I'm in the middle of painting my house, drunk. My niece comes home one day to find me covered in oil-based primer, sitting in the tub, drunk, crying. It was a sad sight. She told me later, she like called my other niece and was like, what do I do with her? She was like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. It's a horrible sight to begin with, covered in oil-based primer. Hair. I had decided to roll the ceiling in my living room with a roller, with nothing on my head, and you know, just, yeah, this would be a good idea, you know. Yeah, it was not. So off to rehab I go again. And this time was a whole lot more painful. It was slow, and I held on by my fingernails. And my sponsor at the time I'd sit at her kitchen table and, you know, pass out on her kitchen table, and she would close her book and push it aside and say, why don't you go on home and we'll just pick it up. And we stayed on the first step for like months, because I couldn't stay sober. And I finally went off to Wilmington Treatment Center. So I'm a 2-time alumnus of Wilmington Treatment Center. And they're an awesome place to go if you need help and cannot stop on your own like me. And so when I came out that time, I knew that, you know, I had to get serious. And so I found a different home group, and I got serious about my sobriety. And it took a while for it to, I mean, I didn't want to drink, but I was just miserable. I was very uncomfortable in my skin. I was very disappointed, ashamed, guilty. felt like I had let everybody down in my life. And so I got a sponsor and I got busy, and I threw myself into AA again, and I threw myself into, being a part of a home group and talking to my sponsor every day and doing book study and making sure I was praying every day, even then when I didn't want to, because there were days I didn't want to because I was angry at myself and ashamed and I didn't want to face God. I was trying to hide from him, from myself, from the mess I had made of my life. And so, when I came out this time, the first 3 steps, I knew I was powerless over alcohol. It was the dash I had a problem with, right? I don't know why, because I had lost my job. I got fired from my job for stealing, but I have a problem with my life being unmanageable, right? This is how sick I am. So I'm trying to figure out, right, how is my life unmanageable? Because I have the house and the car and the husband and the kids. I still have all the things, right? But I was missing the one thing that was most important, and that was the God of my understanding and my ability to be able to get outside of myself long enough to help someone else. And so, I was powerless over alcohol. I knew I was struggling with that to begin with. I was struggling with the unmanageability part of it. I was having a hard time with surrender. I have had a really hard time with surrender for a long time. It is very difficult for me to surrender. I'm very independent, very self-efficient, right? And so to know that I am powerless, that I don't have control over things, bothers me, because I grew up needing to have control and not having any. And so when I figured I finally had some, I didn't want to let go of it. What I didn't realize is I didn't have any to begin with. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about me being in control, because I don't have control over anything except what's right here, right? I cannot control what other people think, say, do, or feel. And I can't control how they react to what I do. So I try to be proactive today and kind of nip it before it even starts and keep myself out of situations where I feel like I have to be in control. The came to believe part, I knew that I had knowledge of God, right? I had gone to church by myself as a child, and I had knowledge of God. I had knowledge of, His omnipotence and His abilities to, make things happen. And I knew that if I allowed Him to, that He could help me, that He could be in control of my life. But I just couldn't trust that, right? Because I had had so much trauma in the past. But I finally came to understand that that wasn't of God. Those things weren't of God. The things that I have been through, the things that have made me the woman I am today, those things were not of God. Those things were of evil, right? And if you believe in good, you have to believe in evil, because it's like the yin and yang effect, right? One balances out the other. And so, I had to trust that God had me no matter what. And I had not done that before. I had not been able to come to the realization that no matter what, I was going to be okay. And so working with a sponsor and going through the steps, and I did my 4th step and was as thorough and as honest as I could be at that time, and I still am remembering things today that I forgot like a long time ago. So it all comes when it's supposed to. God's timing is perfect. That's one thing I've come to understand over the last couple of years, that God's timing is perfect and that He will put me in a place to do the most good. And so I went through the steps with a sponsor, and I did my 5th step, and it was scary, but it was so freeing to get all that stuff out and do what I needed to do to get honest and to stay sober. I started, I did my 6th and 7th step, which is a very small part in the big book, but it means so much. It's so important to be able to come to God and honestly ask Him to help me was so freeing for me, and the ability to do that was God-given to begin with, because I'd have never done that on my own. I'd have never given in, because I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter, and I will fight you to the death if I think I need to. I will fight you to the death. But what I've come to understand over the last several months is that I don't have to, that God will fight for me. And so we did all the prayers. When it said pray, we prayed. And when we got on our knees, when it said get on your knees, we got on our knees and we prayed. And I did all the things that I thought I was supposed to do, and, started following some spiritual principles in my life, and not just in meetings and not just when I was around you guys, but in general, just with everybody. And I started trying to help other people. And I started sponsoring other women. And that's where I find joy today, is in helping someone else. Because it's not about me. 3 of those women are here tonight. And I'm so proud of each and every one of them, because they're all in different stages of their sobriety, but they're all growing so much, and I can see so much growth in them. And it helps me. And I'll tell them that you're helping me more than I'm helping you. And they're just like, you're crazy. What does that mean? What does that even mean? I'm like, you'll understand one day. And one of them is starting to understand that now, because she's sponsoring another woman now. And all that comes to fruition when it's supposed to. And so, I did my amends, and I was willing to do what I needed to do to make amends to people and to be what God would have me be today, be the woman that He wants me to be, not the woman I think I should be or what anyone else thinks I should be. It's what God would have me be today, and trying to do the right thing no matter what and whatever that looks like. And as a direct result of this program, my life has just, I'm so blessed, y'all. I am so blessed. I am so fortunate to be sober and to be able to help other women today, and to be present, and to be a sister. Again, my sister and my relationship has been horrid. Our whole lives has been terrible, because we didn't grow up as sisters. We grew up as siblings. And we grew up as being pitted against one another, whichever one of us was doing good at the time, and that was the favorite child. And so we grew up thinking that the other one was the favorite child all the time. And so since my mom passed away, we've had the ability to come together and realize that, it's us now. It's her and I now, and we've been able to share things and become sisters instead of just siblings. And that's all God, y'all. That was not me, because I had so much resentment and anger towards her. It was palpable. I mean, you could feel it when you walked in the room and the 2 of us were in there. You could feel the tension. And that's not there anymore. We spent Christmas together, and we'll call each other just to chat. She did this album for me. There are no pictures of me as an infant that we could find anywhere. And so she did this album for me of slides she found in my mom's closet and gave it to me for Christmas. And that's such a gift. So, you know, being present today, being able to help other women, being able to be a part of Alcoholics Anonymous and feel like I'm a part of something today that's bigger than me and feel like I have something to offer. I didn't think I had anything to offer anybody that was worth anything. And so being able to be a child of God and be of service is what I try to do today. You know, I sit in meetings sometimes, and you've been here a while, and you hear the same things from the same people, almost word for word, in the meetings, and it's like, okay, but the joy for me today comes where I see that new woman walk through the door, and I can walk up to her and give her just a tad bit of hope. You know, it's going to get better, just don't drink. You know, it's going to be okay, just don't drink. Because I can't tell you what's going to make it better, but I can damn sure tell you what's going to make it worse. And that's taking that drink, because it just sets us off. You know, it's like that switch gets flipped again and we're gone again. And I can say that from experience. It doesn't take much. And I ended up right back where I started from real quick, and then some. It's like it doubled. So, you know, one thing I will tell you that I try to say when I speak is, if you catch a resentment, if you get angry with someone, if you don't like the taste of the coffee in a certain group, you don't like what people have to say, find a different group. Find a different sponsor. There are lots of us out here, right? Don't stop coming. Please don't stop coming. Because I am living proof of what will happen if you do. My experience is that when I stop doing the things that I need to do, when I stop sponsoring other women, when I stop coming to meetings, when I stop talking to God, things start going horribly wrong for me. And I can recognize that real quick today. That's a gift too. Being able to recognize when I'm in trouble and saying, I need some help. And not being ashamed to say I need some help. You know, I was always scared to say I need help. Scared to say, you know, I'm in trouble. I need help. Because you didn't do that. You just push through and do the best you can. Sponsorship and service work are what has kept me sober. Sponsorship, being sponsored, being current with my sponsor, not just a sponsor in name only. I don't do sponsorship by text. I need to hear your voice. I need to hear if you're okay, not just see that you're telling me you're okay. It's important for me to have conversations. And, you know, in today's technology, it's hard to have a conversation with somebody. You know, everything is, you know, we got the computers and we got, you know, text messages and all this other stuff, and it loses something in translation when you try to text somebody how you're doing, right? Because you don't get that verbal inference and that emotion that comes through when we talk to one another. It's so important that we talk to one another and not just, you know, text someone, I'm okay. It's been a good day, right? Because if you tell me in early sobriety, it's been a good day, I know you're lying. I know you're lying. I know you're lying, because it's hard. This is hard. This is not for the faint of heart. This is tough. It's tough work staying sober every day. Every day. And even being sober for a while, it's hard because life shows up. We show up for life, right? We show up. And you know, I've been through some pretty tough stuff over the last couple of years, and I just keep coming. I just keep coming. And, you know, there are people in Alcoholics Anonymous who have saved my life, right? When I didn't have anywhere else to turn. There are people in Alcoholics Anonymous who have saved my life and have talked me through it and have prayed me through it and have been there. I've not had that before. It's not been present in my life before until now. And I'm so grateful. I sat at my house Christmas Day and I thought to myself, I am so very blessed. And I'm so grateful for my husband and for our relationship. We have been together 32 years. 32 years of him putting up with my crap. Oh, he's a trooper. He is a trooper. Because I'm a handful. I'm a handful. But, you know, we've been through some stuff together. And we just keep on getting it because my sobriety comes first. My God comes first. My sobriety comes second. And AA and you guys comes next, because without a God of my understanding, my sobriety goes away anyway. So I try to stay current with God, and I talk to God like I talk to you guys. You know, he's my friend, he's my confidant, he's my person. My husband is my person too. He's my person too. So anyway, what I will tell you is there is hope. If I can get sober, you can get sober, because, you know, I'm hard-headed. I am really, really hard-headed, and it takes a lot for me to give up. But I'm there. I have been there a couple of times now, just you know, laying on the ground bleeding, hitting the face with a shovel. You know, God's like, have you got it yet? Are you understanding now? Because it takes a lot for me to give in. It takes a lot for me to give up and say, okay, handle it. But I have gotten better at it over the last several months. I've gotten way better at it, at just giving up and saying, okay, it's going to be whatever it is. And I'm trusting that God's got me and that he's going to take care of it. And I'm just going to do what's in front of me and keep on trucking. And so that's what I do today. I do what's in front of me and I keep on trucking. And I talk to my sponsor and I do things that I know I need to do in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I do things with my sponsees and for my sponsees. And I do things for my sponsor, with my sponsor. And it's not just a conversation on the phone every couple of days. I'm good, everything's fine, I'll talk to you later. And I try to encourage my sponsee, the women I work with, to also, you know, not just pay lip service to Alcoholics Anonymous and their sobriety, but to actually do the work and do what we have to do to stay sober. And I know it's hard. I get it. I know it's hard, and it's tough. It's tough for an alcoholic like me to live life on life's terms every day without drinking, because that's what I do, right? And if I stop doing the things in Alcoholics Anonymous that I need to do, I will go right back to what I do real easy, because bad habits form real easy. Good habits form a whole lot slower. And so I can get back into bad habits real fast, but I can recognize it today. And that's a gift from God and a gift from you guys. And so I'm going to wrap it up. AA has given me a life that I would have never expected, that I would have never been able to find on my own. And I would have sold myself short even if I had. So there's an excerpt out of one of the stories in the back of the book that I like to read when I get through talking because it just makes sense to me, and I like it. It's on page 347, and it's out of the story Because I'm an Alcoholic. And it says, that sense of being different, which had long plagued me, disappeared when I saw the threads that run through all of us. Sharing our stories, our feelings, it's the areas where we are the same that impress me. The differences are but delightful flourishes on the surface, like different colored costumes, and I enjoy those. But the basic ways we are human, the basic ways we simply are, stand out to me now. I came to see that we are all really one, and I no longer feel alone. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you, guys.